Call this meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. Can I get a mover and a seconder that to approve the agenda as printed? Councilor Jiguer and Councilor Brambach.
Moved by Councilor Jiguer, seconded by Councilor Brambach, that the agenda for the special meeting of October 30th be approved as printed.
All in favor? Carried. I'm going to read the next item, please.
On the agenda is disclosure of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof.
Isn't it someone? Councilor Dahl.
Your worship, I will declare an indirect and direct interest in regards to item 4C. For Falls Chamber of Commerce 2025 budget submission, as my business is a member of the chamber, and I am personally as well a member of the chamber.
Is there anyone else? And I'll be concurrent conflict of interest for the Chamber of Commerce. Also. Okay.
Yeah.
And at that moment, Councilor Brambach will take my place as acting mayor just for that one item. Okay. Thank you. So we'll move on to the next one, 4A.
4A is the Erica Falls Public Library, the 2025 budget submission. Oh yes, sorry.
Yeah. Mover in a second, please. Councilor Lafayette and Councilor Jiguer. Any discussion or questions?
All I'd like to say is that they're doing a fantastic job. They got a lot more activity going on at the library than years past, and they deserve all the help we can give them.
Yeah, and like I say, the schools don't really have libraries anymore, so a lot of residents do use it, a lot of children and a lot of new people come in the community use it, so I think it's a great thing to invest in. Yeah. All in favor? Very good. Next item, please.
Next is the Erica Falls Museum, the 2025 budget submission.
Mover and a seconder. Councilor Bernier and Councilor Jiguer. Any discussion, any comments? Councilor Bernier.
Kind of just echoing what Councillor Lefebvre mentioned in regards to the library. I also feel the museum has done a fantastic job. We got to sit in on a great presentation last week at our meeting, and it's nice to see the museum evolving. It's nice to be able to go in there annually and visit different exhibits rather than the same thing over and over again. We learned last week that it's serving as a meeting place for various businesses, groups around town. So it's fantastic to see that something else that's growing in our community.
No, it's great. For all the community organizations, it's what's making Erica Falls happen right now. Having all these volunteers step up and all these organizations doing a lot of things, it's making our community stand out in amongst other communities. Councilor Tremblay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I see here it says they're approving where they want to approve 12,400. I was under the impression that asked for 15,000.
If I may,
Yeah.
Mayor
I know
Doherty,
it's
the
like-
motion has been corrected
Okay,
to 15,000.
thank you. I have nothing.
All right, thank you, Councilor Tremblay.
Appreciate it.
So all in favor? Carried. So for the chamber one, I'll be stepping away with Councilor Chalmers and Councilor Brambach. Would you mind taking my place for that one item, please?
Okay, next item. Erica Falls Chamber of Commerce 2025 budget submission. I have a mover and second. Councilor Jiguer, Councilor Bernier.
Moved by Councilor Jiguer, seconded by Councilor Bernier, that council approve a municipal grant to the Erica Falls Chamber of Commerce in the amount of $10,000 for inclusion in the 2025 budget.
All in favor?
No,
Okay.
I hate to be the tightwad here, but I know that last year they requested $10,000 as well, and we gave them 7. I would propose that if we're gonna give them anything this year, that we go to 8. That's just my opinion. Up to you guys, movers and seconders. Our discussion generally.
Councillor Jiguer.
Well, they did submit a letter. I did read it and I know they're, as other groups, they're trying to expand. And I think we can remember a time not that long ago where the chamber was just trying to get its gears again and trying to find a location where to operate out of and whatnot. And I think the funds are required to grow their business and the discussions I've had with them. And their vision for 2025 pertains to the amount of money that they've asked for. I guess it would be if we're going to want to give a different sum of money than what has been requested. I guess I would just like to know what that's going to impact on their growth.
Councillor Bruni.
Thank you. Maybe if I could just ask a question of Treasury. Is the number they're requesting, the full number they're requesting, fitting in our current budget projection for 2025?
Thank you, Councillor. I would say no. Firstly, it is the opinion of the finance department that the town actually helped the chamber through special funding. The chamber is for-profit organization, and usually municipality don't fund them. Utica Falls is a unique, community that we relate so much into our business setup in our community that the municipality is trying to help. In this case, what we have in the capital budget, we have actually proposed a budget item 25 capital CAP 27, which is a business retention and expansion program, which has a total budget of 44,000. This is the kind of help that the town needs to give to the chambers, not actual cash operating. It is for-profit organization. So this is our recommendation for council. Meanwhile, we have 7,000 still in the in the budget. Should council decide to go that way, it is up to council.
So what I'm understanding is you're saying that we have 7,000 currently in the budget for the chamber specifically,
Yes, sir.
and the shortfall could come out of line 27 on the capital.
No, that additionally, that's what we have done. That the programming, that is the 44,000 is 50% funded through grants, and the town is actually funding 22,000. It is a special program where the businesses in town will be helped to build and retain clients and information, all sort of things. Yeah. So that is the kind of assistance that we are recommending that we expect.
And that would be through application?
No, this is a direct funding.
Okay.
Going back to their presentation, if I read this correctly, it says for a grant up to 10,000, right? Reading it line for line here. So if we go by what the treasury is saying, that there's, if I understand correctly, there is right now, $7,000 put aside for a line item for the Chamber of Commerce in the 2025 budget. Is that correct?
That's very good.
So I would be in favor then of putting a motion on the table to grant them that 7,000 out of the 10 that they requested. And for them to come back to us with a stronger proposal or exactly what extra funds would be used for if they require anything more than the 7,000.
One thing I noticed when we did get the submission from the chamber week and a half ago, I guess now, 9 days ago, was there was actually no budget. There was actually no financial statement as to where they are, where the money was spent, what the actual plan. It's basically a letter, $10,000. We understand that they've got a lot of work to do, but and I hadn't really thought about that $44,000 project that will benefit, should benefit the chamber. So I guess I'd be happy with the $7,000 as well.
Anyone else? Are you in favor to change the motion for $7,000?
I was a seconder.
You were the seconder, if you're in agreement.
Yes, I would.
Would like me to reread it? So moved by Councillor Jiguer, seconded by Councillor Bernier, that council approve a municipal grant to the Airport Falls Chamber of Commerce in the amount of $7,000 for inclusion in the 2025 budget.
All in favor? Thank you.
Next item is the 2025 draft operating budget.
You're gonna move in a second, please. Councilor LaFave and Councilor Charlebois. First, I'd like to hand it over to, I know Brian Finner wants to say a few words. And then our treasurer, and then I believe Councilor Jiguer wants to say a few words also, I believe. Am I correct, Councilor Jiguer?
I'll wait until we get to a specific line.
Okay, no, I appreciate that, sorry. Okay,
So,
right.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Before we begin, discussing item H 2025 draft operating, I just want to lay the foundation for the conversation tonight a little bit and start by thanking staff and council for, we're having a budget meeting on October 30th for discussion. And in the years that I've been here, this is the earliest that we've had this discussion. We feel strongly that this sets us up well for next steps. Logistically, we're looking to pass, the goal is to pass this budget November 25th. So between now and then, we feel really healthy about where the conversation can go. And it gives us a lot of time to have really healthy discussion, which is really the goal for tonight. Our treasurer is going to go over both operating capital, both the 2025, and then briefly around the premise for the 10-year. But again, the focus tonight should really be around 2025. The 10-year is in place, obviously, to align with our asset management plan. And it really sets us up for healthy forecasting as we go. But as we all know, that subsequent years, we're going to be readopting and reevaluating so we can reflect the most accurate financial responsibilities. So looking forward to the discussion. And at this point, I'll turn it over to, through you, our worship, turn it over to our treasurer.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you to Brian for the introduction. And thank you, your worship and everyone council and my colleagues. Thanks to everyone. Something happened today in Toronto. The province of Ontario delivered a poor economic information that I believe is something we are going to receive a check of $200. So that is a good thing. Even though it is coming in 2025, it is a good thing. The annual forward economic statement actually delivered a good news to all Ontarians. And then the best part is that it is actually putting 1.5 billion into a reserve in 2025. The 5.5 billion deficit have been cut to 1.5 billion in 2025. So that is the best thing. If you come down to our local level, the town of Iroquois Falls, we have a current plan, a projection of 1.65 every year. That is the convention. The original budget that we presented to council for the 5-year plan, the original one, we had 1.759425 to be specific, to the darling numbers. 1.759425 in reserve funds. The revision that we have made for 2025 actually brings the projection to 1.832 723. 1.832 723. That is what we are actually projecting on assumption that council will look at our budget and approve it and adopt it. I just want to touch a little on our cash balances. In August, we presented 27 million as cash reserve, not reserve, cash reserves. Yeah. Since then, we have actually drawn on 2.5 million to pay for some of our capital expenditure. And then we have added 1.25 million. So we are now in a range of 26.7, I would say 26.7 million. I don't know, yeah. So that is where we are now. So if it's okay, I will move on to our operating budget. Yeah, the town has a multi-year actual budget from 2024 to 28. This is in regard to the municipal act that we actually opted to do that for its efficiency. The act also, section 291, subsection 4, requires that the second year and each year to which a multi-year applies, the multi-year budget applies, the municipality shall, in the year immediately preceding the year, review the budget. This is what we are doing now. And then make changes. That's what we are going to receive from you. And then re-adopt the budget. That the re-adoption will be, as the CEO said, November 25th. Yeah. And in addition to that, we are also going to have a little look, I would say a little look because that will not be a detail. Look at the capital budget and the plan. The capital plan, if I may, a little here. The capital plan is being pulled from our asset management plan, which is coming from the regulation 58817. And we successfully we have completed it, and council has looked at it, and now it is on file. They requested it, the province requested it, we have actually submitted it to them. The product of it is that I would say our capital budget is now being based on the asset management plan. We now have the evidence. We know how our roads are, how long our graders and our trucks are going to last. So we have the evidence. So we have the life cycle data. We say life cycle is how to manage any asset we buy. The day we buy it, to the day we will dispose it of. That is the life cycle, what it goes through. So we are using the life cycle of every asset the municipality has. And the level of service that we have, the municipality are actually offering our citizens the level of service, like how we clean our sidewalks, the quality of the water we drink. You go to the education center, the equipment you use, and you call all those qualitative services that we are receiving. That's what we say the level of service. So the level of service in combination with the life cycle management that we in Iroquois Falls have come to live, to understand, to preference that we love to have is that we are basing the 10-year plan on. I mean, what kind of equipment do we need to buy to maintain the service we have? What kind of maintenance we need to do for the town community center? If you look at it, it is in this respect. What kind of stuff do we need for garbage collection? They are all packaged, into this 10-year plan, so that we, the staff here, will be able to deliver to citizens the level of service you have come to understand and accept it. So that is what, if you see the 10-year plan, that is all it is talking about. And the first year will be 2020. So the 2025 year budget, capital budget, is being absorbed from the 10-year plan. So that is where we are. Operationally, I will start with taxation. If you could please go to our reference issue Schedule A. And if I may, we actually going to address a variance from the original 2025 we presented to council against the revision that we have now. As we are presenting today. The difference is what we are going to address. For the original one has been looked at, has been reviewed by council and approved. So what changed from A to A1? That is, the change is what we are addressing now. And this change is what I'm going to say, that if it is less than 30,000, we are not going to address it. 30,000, I would say, is it is an adjustment that will come from price increases, the inflationary pressures. Yeah, so anything below 30,000 on the 17 million budget, we are not going to address. And that will start from Schedule A, taxation. The original one, the original one had 10 million, 364,179. And the revised one went up to 11,476,979. We have an increase of 1.1 million. 1.1 million. And this 1.1 million additional revenue that we have actually brought in is from building permits for about 7 years now. That is why I could read the record back. The town has actually had, I would say, a big increase in building permits. So as of now we have 45, which is significantly high. And there is a new tax classification on gravel pits. Gravel pits, people will say, I know we've been reading about that. We are not getting everything we are supposed to get because we see gravel pits around. We actually been identifying 3, which is the registered ones. So that brought in that one, and the revenue for building permit came in I'll say 1.112,800. 1.112,800, which is significantly high. So in the coming years, when the province is able to follow up on every assessment and do the itemization of every pit, every gravel pit, get them registered, then we will be able to pull every single revenue, every cent into the pockets of the town. But for now, this is what we have. The second item is Schedule E under revenue. The original one we did put forward 1.585959. 1.585959. It actually decreased to 1.575310, and the reduction is just 10,655. This is an exception because this is far below 30,000 that I mentioned. Because of the variation and it's significant, I just want to touch on it. We had a high default, I'll say, default on our property taxes, and then so penalties and interest on taxes went very high to about 265,000 a year, and fortunately we don't have any taxes due. We have a rate of 99% property taxes paid.
That's good. Really good.
Yeah, very good. So now we have actually reduced it from that level by 250,000. Now we are losing. I'll not say we are losing because if you take from your left pocket, you put into your right pocket, it's the same thing. So we are losing on the left side and we are gaining on one side. Yeah. And additionally, we actually lost 250 on that but we actually bringing in 238,000 in aviation fuel. You will see that a lot of traffic is going on at the airport. There will be Avgas and there will be Jet A1. Jet A1, the team is working with very big corporate users. The Orange Organization, Hydro One, and big companies who would drive by and who would ride by and use our service.
And the MNR.
Yes, sir.
too,
Yes,
yeah.
sir. Yes, sir. Yeah. So we also adopting a pricing strategy by pricing our product 4 or 5 cents, below
The average.
our neighbors, our no mention names, our neighbors, so that they will, that will actually attract them to ride down here and then service their planes and then. So the next item will be the Schedule F, general government. The original we actually took to council was 2221716, and now it has increased to 2473126, and an increase of 251,000, which is about 10.16 increase. And this is a result of a consolidated expendable items in the administration. That the administration carries everything. If you are talking about a town or a city, it's the city hall, and the administration carries every detail of the the operating traffic that goes into that municipality. The next item is Schedule H, which is protections department. The original we submitted was 1251139. It actually increased to 1705905. We have an increase here of 26.65%, 454,766. The chunk of it, 262,142, is coming from Ontario Provincial Police. They had we had a very big, I would say, a shock, to receive a bill from slightly over 1 million to 1.25. So it's a very hefty bill. So, I know we are not alone here. Particularly the small municipalities are crying. So we are not actually crying here, but we are complaining that now that the Ontario government has made a lot of money, maybe they will send us some assistance. The additional 192,644 is a summary of expenses to prepare the building and bylaw departments for the future. Permits, we have bylaws that council, this great council, actually put together and adopted. We need enforcement. So that is where that is going. The next item is Schedule I, transportation. Transportation, we did present 3590267, and it actually increased to 4018282, and an increase of 428,015, an increase of 10.65%. We are anticipating purchasing aviation fuel for 216, 240. 216240 for resale. We are going to buy them for resale, and we are using a minimum salary rate of every liter we are going to make. We have actually calculated 35% on it, but it is 70 cents less taxes. So that is the calculation. We are going to buy the A1 40,000 liters, which will come to 78,000, and we are going to buy avgas. We are going to buy 64,000 liters, which will also come to 138,240. The difference of 211, 775 is for we do have operating expenses on our roads. On our road that come through operating budget. They are not capitalized. So that is where that difference is coming from. The next item is Schedule J, Environmental Department. We did submit 1496103. It increased to 1617712, an increase of 121,609. This is a 7.51%. And this is purely our changing methodology for funding for the garbage truck. Rather than buy it outright, our maintenance schedule doesn't actually support we buying it. So the team has come up with some efficiency in doing operating lease. So we are going to lease that. So this is the cost of the lease for a year. The next item will be the Schedule N, which is recreation. The original submitted was 2201995. It decreased. This time around, we had a decrease. It decreased to 2087286. It decreased 114709, a decrease of 5.49%. And this reduction is a product of the department's operational requirements. We see some efficiencies in there, and this is a very significant and helpful thing for us. So operationally, that is the summary we have for the operating budget. So,
Is there any questions or comments from council? Go ahead.
Schedule M, I see social and family services. They're talking about assistance to the aged persons, and we budgeted $10,000 starting next year. There was no budget for 2024. What's that allocated for? Is this?
Yeah. Thank you. That item is a stock item. It is a dump, I would say. October 21st, what council deliberated on very sensitive issue, where we were told to follow up. So we did place a call to Municipal Affairs. Municipal Affairs responded that they don't have a specific grant for mental health, for homelessness, for food banks, and all the social issues. And so they recommended 6 provincial departments that we actually contact, that we do qualify for that, because the Constitution, the Canadian Constitution, leaves health to the province. So every year the budget goes to the provinces. Our provincial government is too far from people we see on the street here who need help. So we at the local level, people know, Mayatari, they don't know Ford. They don't go to food. They don't meet Ford. They meet, Mayatari outside. So that's why they are saying, if you need the money, you go to request. So for now, we are going to request, they said they will get back to us. We still haven't received any call from them. Hopefully, we are going to apply in 2025, we will get some grants. Meanwhile, that amount is a dump. Like, should the mayor and council feel that there is something they need to do while we are waiting for the province to. Yes, yes, sir.
I was just questioning why it said South Centennial.
We had no place.
Yeah,
Yes.
had to find a place to put it. Okay, fair enough.
Thank you, sir.
Any other comments or questions on this part? Councilor Brown?
How much of this budget relies on the grants? You can give me percentage.
Yeah.
I see the number.
Yeah, sure. I'm going to go to that, portion. I just wanted, yeah, I am going to. For a quick answer, I would say our methodology is every dollar we want to get 30 cents on grant. That is our general assumption going into it. Yeah. And if you look at the we have actually modeled our funding is level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. That's level 5.
Excuse me, Councilor,
There's level 5, level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4. That is level 5. But I don't think we would need, because we don't have the projection to use level 5. Level 5 is where we partner with a private organization, like if you private partners.
Partnership with the company or.
For a 3-piece, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We don't have that in our menu, so we are not looking at that. So we are looking at 4. Level 1 is the treasury. The treasury, every capital expense that is less than 110,000, we pay it from our treasury. We don't go into the reserve. Depending on our cash position and our cash management system, we will determine whether we will pay 150,000 capital items from treasury, depending on our cash reserve that we have. We have a working capital that we keep. So depending on how low or how high it is, we will determine at that time. Level 2 is the payment from reserves, purely from reserves. Our cash reserves, if I could qualify that, cash reserves. Level 3 is what we are getting on grants. And level 4 is a debenture or loan, where we could go to RBC for a loan, or we go to His Alliance, or we go to the province for a loan. So generally, we have been moving on our assumption that every dollar we spend in our capital program, we will get 30 cents from the government.
It's safe to say 30% of.
Yeah, that's
They will rely on
yeah.
grants.
Yeah.
Thank you.
When you use the percentage, not everyone understands, so that's why I'm using the dollar.
Yeah, that's why I meant more percentage, but yeah, thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Councilor 5?
On taxation under Schedule A,
Yes, sir.
I see that on page 2 of 3, it begins where you've got your budgeted numbers, and then for the rest of the 5 years, from 25 all the way to 28, there's no numbers. Is that because we're assuming those numbers carry through each year, like in terms of, for example, total commercial is 122,472 and was budgeted for 2024, but nothing for the ensuing 5 years? Is it because that number is just going to repeat, or is it because we're going to get it from someplace else?
Yeah, no, for now it is repeating. If you look at the total is the same. Yeah. The details is what changes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and every year, the value of our properties change. They change every year. So the numbers will change every year.
Right.
So for now, we are unable to know what will be the value in 2025.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
That's it. Public first?
Thank you. Few of these departments, I see that there's like almost double from 24 to 25. Because we're hiring somebody else, or there's gonna be more employees, because building department, you're going from 60 to 134. And bylaw, you're going from 50 to 119.
Brian?
Thank you for the question, Councillor Tremblay, and great observation. Absolutely, that is the perspective within this budget. We've developed, we've established through evaluation the major gaps that we've seen in level of service in that department. So that'll essentially, right now, just to keep it high level, that department right now has a complement of 2 staff. We have a middle manager and we have a bylaw enforcement officer. We want to make sure we're meeting level of service at the bare minimum so we can serve this community. If we do that, there's going to be more customer services. There's going to be more development. Ultimately, that department will work hand in hand in economic development. And what we'll see from that is increased revenue, ultimately, which is a very good thing. And there's a gap there right now, and we've established that. We want the opportunity to, be able to play a role in having these departments in-house. We don't want to have to rely on support either from contract services or our neighbors, so we can utilize the complement as much as possible. And ultimately, we've established that gap. So it's really essentially building the department where it needs to be to meet level of service. So that's where that comes from. And those numbers will be spread out. It's not just going into one department. Obviously, there's shared services within planning, zoning, and building. So right now, the complement is 2, and we're proposing 4 in total. So 2 more additional.
So I guess that goes the same for the pool, the wages at the pool.
For the pool wages, I'll happily turn it over to our Director of Recreation to speak for lifeguard and pool wages. I do want to touch on one more thing, Councilor Tremblay, if that's okay. The other additional complement that I believe we'll all see in this budget is in transportation services, correct? Steve, I don't know if you want to touch on that just really quickly.
So that's twofold as well. As everybody knows, in this environment that we currently live in, we have issues attracting skilled trades persons. So as of right now, our mechanic told us basically he's got between 3 to 5 years left in his role, and he's going to retire, perhaps even earlier. Therefore, we want to create a succession plan, and what that looks like is for now is hiring a second mechanic and making sure that he has that transition period between the 2 mechanics, and being able to train him properly and have that transfer of knowledge, where in the past sometimes the transfer of knowledge is missing and we have difficulties filling positions, and we just hire people based on the need, not on the right qualifications. So this search would be posted, but we're not just going to hire. We wouldn't just have the intent of hiring anybody to fill the position. We want to hire a qualified mechanic, a trucking coach that could perform the work that our mechanic is currently performing the work doing, and have that flexibility of having somebody properly trained prior to our mechanic that currently works retires. Secondly, I've identified, and we've discussed in the past, myself and Joelle, years gone by, of the need of, it's the second supervisor, assistant supervisor. Currently, we have 15 employees. We have 200 kilometers of country roads. We have landfill. We have a cemetery. We have airport duties that we're taking on. For one supervisor to be everywhere right now, there's a lack of supervision because there's too much work within that one person's responsibility. And at the end of the day, he's responsible for also planning the maintenance on equipment, the scheduling of it and also coordinating all the work. So the country roads and the town have a need for maintenance and he's planning all of it right now. And there's just a lack of the ability to do it all by yourself. So we were supposed to have an assistant director. I've identified that I think there's more value in hiring a second supervisor rather than an assistant director because of the compliance manager's role. His ability to take on more responsibilities has been apparent and he is relieving some of the duties from me. Therefore, those positions are working well and in harmony together. I think the need is further required as a secondary supervisor to handle country duties and other tasks within, such as training within the department.
So that's why your department's wages are going up, they're hiring more people.
That's right.
I want to ask you.
Correct.
For recreation was, these department, it's going down, but at the pool, it's going up. Is that just because you're hiring somebody at the pool?
No, we're not hiring anyone else over at the pool. We had a minimum wage increase, which affects the existing lifeguard complement. The other portion is our lifeguard staff wages are the lowest in Northeastern Ontario. There's a couple of us here who can appreciate the qualifications, the expenses that come along with it. So what's going to happen for 2026? Lifeguards move up to $19 an hour, which is the rate of summer students where we hire over the course of the summer. We're using a lot more assisting out on that end. That certainly doesn't bring us to the high end of the lifeguard wages in the region, but it does bring us up slightly closer to some of the others. We're probably in the bottom third at $19.
I must have been good. I was making double that when I was.
You were the best.
Thanks, Director Belongia.
Anyone else? Any comments or questions? Councilor Jiguer.
A couple of questions or comments that have come from my fellow councilors, questions. So I'll start with that. With the increase in looking at bringing on extra staff, I'm wondering if it would be possible just to get like a flow chart or a snapshot of who we currently have, or maybe not name, but positions that are filled and positions that are vacant that we are looking to fill with this budget. Just to have a better idea maybe of how it's going to flow. Obviously there's a need, right? And it's all about having that service for the community. So it would just be nice that maybe to be able to see where those gaps actually are and where do they fit into the current organization if possible before passing budget. My other one is I would just like to go back right to the beginning when we started talking about reserves, right? So if we look at from year to year, are you able to just briefly explain or give me the number of where reserves were 2 years ago, for lack of a better term, and like where we are today at around 26.7? Like basically what I'm looking for is, have we really dipped into those reserves and are we starting to see a decrease in reserves? Are we sustaining ourselves, or have we actually seen an increase since the last couple of years?
I will be able to get you that information, and I believe I did provide that information to you not long ago, but I thought, okay, I'll be able to do that. To answer the second part of your question, our reserve have been increasing. Our cash reserve is what the reserve per se, it is a book. I mean, it's a book thing. Miller, that's our road. I can't go to Miller and tell him, Miller, this is my accounting reserve. Good, yeah. It has to be, the reserve has to be converted into cash. That is what qualifies it to be cash reserves. Our cash reserve, we have actually begun to build our cash reserve. It used to be reserves, not cash. You can't buy anything. You can't pay for your construction with reserves. Reserves are different from cash reserves. We have been building our reserves into cash through GIC.
and I'll be able to. do that.
Any other comments? Councilor Garrett?
My last one, I guess, would be, just a comment on the rec side of things, looking at the budget here and as the years progress. I think, I'm hoping there's gonna be some nice things that we can apply for grant wise, because, you know, when I look at the state of our current baseball field and our outdoor rink and the rising costs of materials, I think that, you know, we look at the next 2 years, I think those numbers are quite low for us to do a good job at getting everything done that needs to be there. I know Mr. Belongre is trying to be as conservative and spending his budget as wisely as possible. But as we do see increases in the baseball field being used, and where even like where last summer, it starts to be almost like conflict of who can have the field or whatnot. You know, there are for sure the need for some dollars to be spent there in the next couple of years.
And on that front too, I know I talked to the CEO about that, and staff is applying for a lot of grants of mine. So maybe you give us some highlights of things you guys are looking at?
Yeah, and thank you, worship. Couple of things, and just to clarify, Councilor Jiguer, I think the focus there is more capital, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so just, but one thing we are very, very proactive on is not only searching out funding opportunities, but applying for them. We currently have 3 funds in the works right now that we're very, very encouraged on. They're all around capital project, and Councilor Jiguer, one of them is specifically for recreation infrastructure. That's, you know, literally the title of the fund is a recreation infrastructure grant that was just submitted yesterday, I believe, Director Belanger. So something we're very, very big on. We can never, you know, we don't want to always rely on government funding as we work through these capital plans and capital projects. But what we do want to do is set ourselves up in this capital plan to be able to apply and be successful through these grants through supporting documentation. You know, we've all said it before, gone are the days where you can fill out an application and just hope you get lucky. There's a lot of prerequisites, a lot of documentation, a lot of plans that goes into these funds now, and the competition is very strong. So very big on applying for funding. We understand the value there, and we look forward to continuing to pursue funds. As trends continue, as gaps continue, as infrastructure is aged, we will be proactive in applying for funds all the time.
Thank you.
So just to finish on the rec, I did have the, you know, the opportunity to sit down with Director Belanger, and he did go through with me some of his strategic planning and, you know, where he believes he should apply for what grants and what, and it's just, you know, we hope that we're successful, because if not, then it is costly to keep these afloat.
Thank you. Any other comments? Steve, go ahead.
Thanks, Councillor Garrett. Just to add on that, in the 2025 budget, we see a allocation for Central Park conceptual and engineering on there. That is for working behind the arena. And once we, you know, we've long been trying to get that land from the ONR. We're hopeful that we're going to figure out what we are going to have in the near future. And this is kind of going to guide us on how we're going to be able to find those opportunities immediately within that space. Again, as CEO Peter mentioned, there is a lot of preparation that needs to take place in order to get those engineers, including project readiness. When we find out what type of parcel we you know, may have in behind the rec complex, that's going to help us
We've been
move
working
along.
on that for a long time, about a year and a half, and it's coming.
We're also hoping this project might put a little bit of pressure on some others to be able to develop and that being the ONR, when they see that we're investing in that, we're ready. We need this, and you know, it'll help. And if we're not there, then absolutely we'll be looking at other locations to be able to, you know.
Yeah, I just received an email from the ONR today, so things are going as we speak. Great. Any other Councilor Brumbaugh?
A couple of questions. In past couple of meetings, we mentioned about having signs on our entrance. Do we have them added into our budgets this year?
Brian?
At this time, they are not in there for 2025. Councillor, Bromback, happy to have the discussion and happy to look at adding them if council chooses to. Absolutely.
And Joel, do you have a comment?
No, I was gonna echo it.
Michael, okay.
Yeah, it just, it would be great to have signs first and then keep adding more stuff that we have coming in. At least we are on the roadmap for people because highway is getting busier every year. Also,
Go ahead.
the other question, when we created this budget, like, was there any community needs assessment prioritizing funding? For more services, like, if we could, not for this year or maybe next year, if we could add a splash park or accessible park for the kids to have.
And that's what we're looking at right now with you on our property. Brian, I'll let you speak on that.
Yes, so great perspective, great question. The answer is absolutely. We are looking at all aspects of community development. You know, physically, we've identified that, you know, outdoor recreation is a big part of that, and we've identified it in the 2025 capital budget. But the other tools that's very important to understand that we're doing, and this was a 2024 allocation, is our plans and assessment. So, you know, and we've begun work on it now, but as we progress through the next year, we're going through a council strategic plan, an economic development plan, a business plan, housing needs assessment. So to your point exactly, Councillor Barba, those are also additional tools that allow us to engage staff, council, the community through all the tools of engagement, public forums, town halls, key stakeholder interviews, public surveys, you know, SWOT analysis, anything you can think of that goes in that process. And that'll really allow us to evaluate the landscape of community development. So through that, we will get tangible, concrete responses that we will use to plan for our future, along with council's direction, along with our asset management plans that we use to put into the capital budget.
So, good comment, Councilor Brown. Councilor Conley has his hand up.
You want us to wait for capital budget questions now, or
I was thinking that the whole time.
you want us to wait capital budget questions next
Yeah,
meeting?
Yeah,
Perfect, bud. Yeah,
Next,
sure.
next item.
next item.
Next item, sorry. Okay, any other? So, is there
Moved by Councillor LaFave, seconded by Councillor Charlebois, that the 2025 draft operating budget is received as information.
all in favor? Carried. So at this time, I'm gonna ask for a 5-minute reset. And then continue after that. Thank you. Back to the meeting, clerk, can we read the next item?
The next item is the 2025 draft capital budget.
Can I get a mover and a second, please? Councilor Jacare and Councilor Bernie.
Yes, sir. Thank you again. And once again, everyone, we do have 2025 capital budget, which is an extra from the 10-year capital plan. And this is 10.2 mil that we are proposing. The record is we usually get about 5.6 million done every year on our on our budget. Last year, for instance, we did propose 11 mil, and we got slightly close to 6 mil done. So what we have here doesn't necessarily mean we will use everything. Some are moving into the following year, that will be 2027, and $2.1 is coming from, debenture. And, like I said earlier, we are going on assumption that when grant is available, we are going to use, grants. Item number 25, CAP 19. Yeah, there's a grant ongoing right now, and then we may end up using using a grant. The only debenture item that we anticipate going into will be 25 CAP 25, which is a new tanker truck, which is coming up April 2025. That is the delivery, anticipated delivery date. And God willing, council approved this budget. We are going to come back to council with a proposal from for the Ministry of Infrastructure to get a loan for that. They have the lowest rates right now, so we are just indulging here that we will get this approved, and then we will go ahead with that. They actually requesting 2023 financial report that we haven't done. It will be coming to council on November 4th. They are asking for our asset management plan, which we do have it. I mean, our debt limit is so encouraging. We can borrow up to 30 mil with no question asked. And we are also talking about our 10-year plan, which we do have it here. So we are ready. Should council go ahead and then adopt this budget for us. The treasury is ready to. We have cash available to do 1.5 mil. That will be that we have the ability to do without going into our reserves. We already have reserves for some major road projects. We have identified them. We have a reserve. We have a cash reserve for them. So if we need to pull that, we will arrange and then pull them. The grant we have here is 963, and like I said earlier, the grant may go up to 1 point. If I add 800,000 here, that will be around 1.7. The grant could go to 1.7, depending on successful application of what we are doing. And to lastly say this, that everything here is, putting us in a position that our assets, our core and non-core assets combined, will be able to deliver to citizens the level of service they've been expecting, they want to see, and that we want to deliver. So this is the budget we have.
Any other comments or questions? Councilor Bernier.
Maybe not so much for our treasurer as much as some of the department heads. I don't know if you want me to hold on to those or if you'd like me to go with a couple of them now.
Brian, what would you prefer as a CEO?
Floor is yours.
Yes, I don't know what to either.
Go ahead. Thank you. And thank you very much, Karina, for the support as well as your team. The first one I had, so going through this is 25 cap 02, which is a statute remediation. So Obviously, probably just over a month ago now, we had a public conversation where the price tag that we had discussed was over $26 million. Sorry, $26,000, thank you. And now that's down to 12.5, so I'm wondering, I believe, if maybe, Mr. Seer can provide some clarity on that, how do we get to that, number, please?
Yeah, absolutely, no problem. Thank you for the question. So we've, I guess through this gained a little bit of traction through the media. An individual came forward that actually built and maintained some of the prominent statues that we see in the north, or the bison and the lizard and that metal hockey player that was in Kirkland Lake. So he's communicated interest in helping us out should we decide to remediate. The price you see in front of you is that quote with a contingency. So at a future, if this is passed, at a future council meeting, we'll bring forward an issue report, you know, maybe with the analytics from the survey, and detailing what the quote was, for future approval.
So at this time, it's in the budget, and then still has to go to council.
That's correct.
Anything else, Councilor Jiguer?
Just while we're on this one, I don't know if now's the proper time, but, do we know, like, if we go ahead with this, how long the repair is good for? Like, if we go and do this work, are we looking at like a 5 year until we think we gotta touch it up? Like, was there any discussion on that?
Yes, thank you. I think it's a 10-year life cycle, life expectancy. So the statute is about that. I think maybe a little older.
Yeah.
But we're looking at about a 10-year. We may not want to leave it go quite this long this time, but.
Okay, go ahead, anybody else? Council Bernie?
Yes, thank you. Just wanted to touch with maybe the director of public works, recreation. Item number 25 cap 05, the electric ice resurfacer. I know that was a 2024 budget item originally. Just wanted to maybe provide an update for council and everybody else to understand where that is, or what stage we're at in if it been purchased or.
So the unit has been ordered, but we did have approximately 300 days from the point of order to the point of delivery. We did inquire, would there be any incentive if we were to pay a percentage, you know, or even full in advance? Not that we would necessarily pay full. At the time, they said $0 is the incentive to pay in advance. So we said, thank you. What we'll do is we'll hold on to our own dollars and keep them in our account generating interest rather than providing them in advance. So those dollars, that spend will take place probably somewhere about now, 12 months, you know, once we have the unit and we're completely satisfied.
Not to tick on the recreation director, but I have two issues. The sound equipment, can we speak on that? One of them?
Sure.
Oh, yeah, we had more. Okay, I didn't know that.
Well, just still on the topic of the ice resurfacer, if I may, so, the number we're seeing here, I believe, is, if I'm gonna, I'm sure the will correct me if I read this number wrong, but $175,000, which is sizably, smaller than what we had put in the 2024 budget. Can you speak of, about, am I hearing the savings in there?
Yeah, slight savings. They're actually starting to come down again to a degree, you know, on some of these pricing. So we were happy, we were competitive with it when we released that RFP. They knew we were looking. They Zamboni also knew that we've been Olympia for you know, all of our time, and I think they were looking to corner into the northeastern Ontario market, and the fact that Hearst, Cochrane, Timmins, ourselves all are operating Zambonis probably only helped our cause now, and it reduced their cost just because they'll be performing that service all the way around. So it was a good find, and you know, on that note, we had also discussed also Charlotte had made note what the cost of the batteries, and you know, that might be a discussion down the road where we take some of that allocation, you know, that we see the savings, put that aside, so it's there and ready when needed.
Can I go ahead now? I'm sorry about that, I apologize. about sound for the arena? I know that's been a hot topic and I believe it's in the budget as I see it. Can we talk about it?
Sure, we've been looking, over the years and I can speak to this going back to when I was in that role once upon a time and, we were kind of on piecemeal a lot of it when we were doing those repairs. The system wasn't old. We replaced a number of horns here and there. There was a couple of units that were replaced in about 2015, 2014, 2015. It's not that, it was 2015, 2016. So we definitely have a couple that are in good shape. All of them are actually in relatively good shape. Is it a dated system? For sure. It seems Chair and working in that environment, absolutely. So what we are going to be doing is taking the better parts of those units. There's a couple of those that are pressure. We'll do a full reevaluation on them, supplement that system. I think a lot of the issue that we have right now and where the complaints are coming from in that facility is over on the end. If you were to go down the side, it's not nearly as bad, but we do not have any speakers on the end zone. So in here, we're going to be able to complement that, take, add system or add a few speakers over to the back end. Filter up. It has done remarkably well. I mean, if anyone takes a look at those centerized speakers, the full 360s, you get a look at the color. I think they were put in when they were still smoking in the arena and so, and then we have an opportunity to be able to take some of those speakers we don't really have and move over on the curling rink. So, good system. We're going to be able to expand on everything, and we've heard and council's heard the complaints and the concerns.
So my next question is, they say we have a beautiful arena. Like I said, I tour with my children and everything, and I never, when I started going around to other arenas, not everybody has a nice arena like Irvine Falls, but you know what? Once you go around, you see what we have. It's a gem, right? And it's just keep it going and investing in it. My next question is regarding heating. Is there any plan for the heating system or?
Not necessarily immediately next year, but we're working as CEO Pinner had mentioned, on getting ready for these plannings. We're going to be investing in a little bit of a feasibility study here and going through with basically an audit of our building and seeing where our weaknesses are, where they are from greenhouse emission, and we have a dated, let's say, system for providing our heat to the building, basically 3 boilers that also serve all of our showers, that also serves the ice for surfer. Anytime some of this stuff gets moved around, it's a little bit difficult. We'll be looking at a combined system that takes care of all of our heating needs, including the domestic water over on the pool, and you'll note that there's something there in the 26 budget for that. So what we want to do is we don't have money to throw around. We want to hit an absolute home run when we get that opportunity to do so. We're going to be doing studies and looking for every incentive that we can through the Green Building Fund to be able to get those steps there, find out what's going to be best for us to make sure that, our dollars are maximized when we do make that investment. And that's kind of the same idea with our Central Park, idea to say that we want to look at satellite facilities. I think we need to take care of our first one first, find out where we're going to land, and then we can take the next steps after that.
I have a season's ticket seat in the end zone. Not only can I not hear, I can't see the numbers for the penalties. Is there any way making those bigger? And I have my glasses on when I'm trying to figure those out.
I think there is ways. If you're doing it, you just gotta realize where you're going. If you're going to add, widen them up onto the bottom, you're shortening up your larger picture, on there and see where you're going to go. So I think it's kind of 6 of one and half dozen of the other if you're going to play that game, and go there. But that said, during the game, the screen doesn't necessarily change really well. The Storm logo or whatever it might be is up there, and it's worth investigating, and
you don't mind.
We've got some people who are pretty knowledgeable, more knowledgeable than I on that score.
And I agree with Councilor Fine. Any more comment? Councilor Brava.
I have a question about the statue. Now that the price has gone down to more than half, do we have a cost to remove it? Like not remove it, but to move it different place where it's town owned property and not on anybody else's property? Because the reason I ask is in future, we, as a town, we don't wanna be pressured into working on it if we don't have a budget. So if we have it on our property, if it needs more assistance and more work, then we can wait until another year.
Joel?
Yes, thank you. We do not have a cost for relocating the statue. I'll take the comment. You know, I'll note the comment, and when I bring back the issue report, maybe I'll include some information there. I would think that the best time to relocate would be ahead of the remediation for obvious reasons. So we can certainly, you know, ask that question and bring something forward within that report.
So if I could add something, also like reason I said to relocate is, it would be great, like nowadays in the world of social media, it could make a great landmark for our town. And could become a public, like a tourism opportunity for somebody to come and visit, have a little picnic in the park and
So
take pictures.
when we present this to at that meeting, we should bring all those points forward and that would be great. Yeah, for sure. That's good ideas. Yeah. Councilor Jiguer?
Yeah, well, we're, just to follow up with Councilor Brumback, and most of the conversations I had around the community and talking to other residents, especially at this price, I think it's a great project to move forward. But it would also be great if it would be relocated somewhere within, you know, the community. To get people to come into our community. Right now, they just have to stop on the side of Highway 11 and they never even have to come into Iroquois Falls, right? So if, you know, let's take care of it, let's bring it to town or within town limits somewhere where it's getting people to come and see our community at the same time. I think that would be a much bigger win than just getting it fixed up on the side of the highway.
I appreciate that. Like I said, I remind you all to bring that to the next meeting because that'll be great. And it's great comment. Councilor Lefebvre.
I've had some discussion about the location as well, right? And, you know, you follow social media and it's like, oh, the town should be patching their potholes instead. Well, the minimal amount that it even was, never mind at 12.5, at 26,000, you don't patch a whole lot of holes with $26,000. So that, you know, it's kind of weird when you get those comments on social media. Personally, I think it should be moved into town. I think it should go into the park. And I think it should be pointing at where the mill used to be and say, have I got a story to tell you? We got over 100 years of forestry, you know, and paper making in this community. And what a great opportunity to have, like you say, the tourist attraction on our sign out on the highway. You could have a, you know, a smaller version of it. Just say, come on into town. So you can buy yourself a 2-for-1 pizza or something.
So, for the statute, though, I think we should say that with all these comments for when it comes to the cable now and move on to the next item. Next, is that okay?
Are we going line item by line item, or are we just asking questions?
Asking questions.
Okay.
Yeah. So Councilor Trombley.
Yeah, one more thing about this. I saw in the operating budget, for the air transportation, we have avgas coming in, Jet 8 fuel coming in that. And then on the capital budget, we have $90,000 put away for lighting. Is that, that's just phase one? You're not getting any lights for that price or anything, right?
Joel.
Correct. It would be the design aspect, design engineering aspect of that project. Like we estimate this to be about 10% of the actual construction cost of the lighting retrofit.
Because I don't see anything in 2025 or anything else, right, in the other years. I mean, 26 and all that.
Yeah,
Not any aside for that yet.
correct. Within the 10-year capital, you're not seeing it? I'll make that up. I'll note that.
Not on that right now there, but we've had trouble with those lights before now. If we don't have lights, what's the point of having gas and all the other stuff? Or orange can't land there if there's no lights in that. So shouldn't the lights be one of our first priorities before we get all this other stuff? If we have all this gas and no lights, airport can't be open, right?
Yeah, great comment, good perspective. We had an event last year which knocked out kind of a significant amount of lights. we're organizing that whole operation now where, you know, we're really going to be performing inspections and doing maintenance on a more regular, well, I don't want to make it seem like it wasn't done in the past, but we're organizing it with a bigger group of people and we feel comfortable that this can wait another year or two. We really need to do our homework in terms of, you know, what impacts those types of changes will do to our operation as a whole. You know, as airport maintenance requirements are kind of staged in a way where if you've never done something, you know, you're not necessarily required to maintain to the latest standard. You know, you're allowed to stay where you are, where now if you're upgrading lights to a new standard, now your maintenance standard will climb as well. So we don't have the full picture right now. We think that it's you know, it's likely to be an important project in the future. So we want to be ready for that project, you know, should we end up there. So we thought that the design and engineering of that would fit well next year to set us up into the future.
If say we stay at these standards, that's fine, but if the lights aren't working, then we got nothing, right?
Yeah, we're not implying the lights won't work. You know, we will
No,
maintain
no,
the lights
no.
to work, right? We just hope that, you know, no major event happen where we have to, you know, change half or 50-60% of the lights out there.
Councillor Jiguer?
Just,
Sorry.
to stay on the gas, I get, will this implement or take any strain or will require any kind of new training for our first responders?
Go ahead, Joe.
Great question. I'll look into that.
Thanks.
Councillor Joe.
Hey, your worship. The thing about waiting to ask a question is that most of my questions get answered from previous questions, which is great. On project cap 03 flagpoles, just a bit curious. What happened to the flagpole that used to be at the intersection of Cambridge, and Maine, where the sundial is? Wasn't there a flagpole there?
Still is.
Still
Joel?
is?
Alleged Joel and stuff?
It's still there.
Still
It's
is?
behind the trees for some
Oh,
reason,
there.
so you can't really see it, but you'll see the Ontario flag there, so waving in the background.
When you're walking there, you don't actually see it that well. Very good, and regards to the airport lighting that's been addressed, cap 16. Backup generators for wastewater. Now, what would be the life expectancy of these generators?
Answering that.
It's a good question. I don't have the answer. I don't know what the life cycle on a generator is. However, I could find out. It would depend on the utilization, to be honest, and the utilization is based on power outages, which is not frequent, but yearly we have about 2 planned outages, and it costs the township about $10,000 to $15,000 per event. So that's why we're leaning towards this, and the government is leading on us every year about having backup power because we have bypass events when the power goes out. So bypass events means everything bypasses the sewage plant and goes straight to the river. So that's on the MECP's radar. So we're just trying to plan for that. And life cycle, I could get a better answer for that for sure.
Thank you.
Cap 19, my last one, cap 19 for the UV disinfection unit. Question for our treasurer. When it comes to debentures, the interest rate, the amortization period, I suspect it varies depending on the type of asset. A vehicle would be this. A piece of equipment would be something else, or is it all the same?
What we determine is the kind of funding we require. The rate is determined by the lender, and moving items are actually pricier than non-moving items. So that is out of our control. But generally, they are the priority lenders. Their money is cheap. So yeah, when they are available, we don't go to Royal Bank or Case Alliance.
Thank you. And on the same topic, the last question would be that UV disinfection unit, what would be the life expectancy of that kind of unit? $1 million a pop? You want cheap?
Given proper maintenance, that would run like, there would be no life cycle. It would be like the waste plant itself, you know, there's not necessarily a life cycle. It's just a maintenance and proper, you know, investment into that asset.
Okay, thank you.
It's something we have to do anyway.
Oh, yeah.
And if I could add this, that the debenture is a second option. We actually relying on a grant. Should the grant fail,
Counselor Trombley?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. For
Anytime.
Top 36 Central Park Conceptual Plan and Engineering. Now that, all this stuff depends on if we have that land that's behind the arena, right?
Right.
There's also some other engineering components that go to that.
Yeah. But I see that you have to do that in order to get funding for these other, external
And
funding.
that's,
So
how are we gonna have this layout? What are we imagining? And if we are going to bring splash pad, the idea is a centralized location for all of our assets, like co-location. Having as if plumbing, a washroom, if we're gonna bring an outdoor rink, what are our opportunities?
So it's, you have to spend 150 in order to get other funding and stuff. Just for people when they ask me, how come you're spending 150,000 on the back of the arena?
It's not necessarily, it's gonna be that high, but we did want to be able to know.
But
If
basically,
things happen quickly, wonderful. This could be moved on as well.
thank you.
Ryan?
No,
Good?
this is all about being prepared and fiscally responsible. You know, there's some variables here that we're not sure of, but what we do know is we want to do our best to move forward with an outdoor recreation project like this, but there's variables there, you know, funding, government funding, and donate, whatever it might be, but ultimately with the end goal being project right. So if we're able to move forward, it's planned for.
Yeah, you have to do that.
Right, and I should note, this was budgeted for 2024, so it is a carryover in that lens as well, right? So if we are fortunate and say there is a funding application here, it is very rare that any fund today will grant you 100%. So maybe the province will say 76% is paid for, so this allows us to have a little bit of an allocation if it's coming out of the town as well. So it's really exercise in being fiscally responsible for a project that we know we're trying to move forward. So.
Thank you.
And that's what Brahma? No, very good. Okay, sorry. Counselor Dubuque.
I have a couple of line items I would just, I guess for clarification or have a quick discussion on. I just want to go back to 03, the flag pole. So are we saying that like we want to set $15,000 aside to install a new flag pole?
This project kind of identifies like a lot of the conversations we had last year. So we had, you know, we had some interest and we had some discussions about, you know, something we can lower when appropriate, you know, and the two flag staffs we have at town hall are really not easy to enable that. And we don't own any flag poles. So we put this in the budget, you know, in case council had an appetite to install flag poles somewhere in the community to be able to, you know,
Recognize certain things.
yeah, to be able to fly whatever flag and be able to half mast.
I just 15,000 seems a bit for me, but I guess if you got to pour cement in that, it doesn't take long to go up, right?
You're well.
And again, there would be like a specific issue report outlining everything when that time came.
Councilor Dubuque.
04, Public Works, Driftwood River Bridge Engineering. With this amount of money set aside, would this basically give us back a report on our options for that bridge, or is it just another report to get another report?
Joel.
The intention for this one would be detailed engineering. So, you know, there you might see a few reports in terms of the preliminary options. But the intention of this project would see us ready for a tender. Like there would be no more questions after this.
Except how we're gonna pay for it.
It would be a go, no go scenario.
And different options that are available. Councillor Jiguer.
So then for the same for, I guess, number 10, Monteith Road Reconstruction Engineering.
So that would be, through Steve, this one is more Steve's, but it would be the full remediation of Monteith Road, like the design engineering.
Yeah, design engineering of the road to be resurfaced,
Resurfacing, ditching.
resurfacing, culvert replacement.
Culverts.
Yeah.
And there is discussion with Ministry of Transportation with this road also. Councillor Jiguer.
While we're saying full, it's actually not full. It's between, it's not encompassing buried infrastructure. So I don't know how you would delineate
So
that.
in Monteith, we would stop before we get to this town of Monteith because of the water sewer. That would be excluded from this project. That would be future year projects for the township all the way to the highway. That would be phase 2, phase 3.
Sure. 14, pickup truck replacement, and maybe I'll keep this one as general and it's not for maybe just public work, but I would like to challenge staff here. As I've been looking at, different scenarios with different municipalities. If there is a way for us to maybe not have all pickup trucks and there could be a cost reduction and maybe getting 1 or 2 smaller vehicles for when it's applicable. Like, I don't know, maybe if there's a truck already in the fleet that could be, kind of re-given or given to a different, given to Public Works, and then someone who doesn't require a pickup truck, we could maybe try to go and find something that would fit maybe more that person's daily task. Just more of a comment, I guess.
Okay, no, I appreciate that. Yeah. And Councillor Jiguer.
Thank you. 26, Town Hall renovation design. So we've been talking since I've been here anyways on, what we're gonna do. So this is basically gonna just give us an outline on the design on what staff is proposing that we do.
I'll let Brian speak on that.
Yeah, so I believe this is driven through an engineering review of opportunities and what we can look at for development with the town hall. But I am going to turn it over to our director of infrastructure just to speak a little more technically on the project
Appreciate
that
that.
he's been overseeing.
Okay, sorry about that. Go ahead.
Oh, that's all right. So the project would include, base plans of town hall as is. And then we would do a full consultation process with staff to identify the need, the requirement. Do we need an addition? Can we use the basement? All of the options will be reviewed, brought to council, a decision will be made, and again, this should see us all the way through to tender ready.
Thank you. Anyone else before?
Well, just on that point alone, obviously, we're kind of between a rock and a hard place. It's not like.
We have no choice.
Yeah, we have to move ahead with this design and with this construction. It's not like we have a choice.
And we're getting fined if we
We
don't.
can't afford that. It doesn't make any sense.
Anyone else?
If you're not going to go.
Councillor Trumbull.
Something different.
Yeah.
Cap 13, the broom flail mower. The new one would be 48,000 or approximate there. That's the number we're given. And that's 48,000 from the machinery, and then we're doing the work, right?
That's good.
Now, the other one is 28,000 annual cost to do the work except for country roads. Now there's a difference there from 28 to 48 plus wages and all that, right? I'm just wondering why if we can get it for 28, is the work not so?
I'm just gonna ask for clarification on where the 28,000 is coming from.
Currently, grass cutting services for our 3 highways and the airport outsourced at an annual cost of 28,000.
Oh,
This
okay.
cost does not include essential grass cutting on our country required on.
Okay,
roads.
so, okay, Thanks for the question. So I think I understand. So currently we pay the $28,000 to do our three highways through contractors. That costs us that every year to do just 3 highways. So the proposal is to purchase our own flail motor so we could do our 3 highways and also grass cut our 200 kilometers of country roads and stay on top of. It also cuts up to 1 inch in diameter tag alders, so you can also clean the ditch line, which we don't currently do. Other than when we're ditching, which we have, our budget for ditching is quite small, so that would help mitigate growth in our current ditches and hold up our infrastructure a little bit better on country road as well. So that's the proposal, is to purchase the flail motor that goes on our sidewalk machine as an attachment. Yeah.
And it basically might cost us a bit more money now, but in the long run, we won't be paying that 20.
Yeah, the payback, I can't remember what it says on the sheet, but the payback would be, less than.
And just the reduction of operating costs within 2 years.
Yeah.
What's the cost of saving on our roads also?
Well, there'll be definitely an advantage to our road beds was in the growth of the ditching. We won't have to ditch as much as we do now. And the ditching costs we could remain static rather than go up with inflation. We won't need it as much.
Thank you.
Anyone else? That's all fine.
Just a comment if everybody's finished with the questions.
Any more questions? Councilor Jiguer then?
Thank you. One maybe for our fire chief, the new tanker, right? So we hear tanker and we hear water. And then the proposal right now, pumper 4 would go into reserve. So can you just maybe give a brief explanation, like what does that mean?
So normally, when we replace a truck, we take one out of service. We've identified that buildings out in the country aren't getting small. We're actually increasing. We're getting larger fields. So we need larger water shuttles. So Pumper 4 is our oldest truck. It's a 2000 and needs to come out of service because it's 25 years old next year. However, it's a really good truck still. And Steve can attest with me, new equipment is not as good as old equipment. So we'd like to keep Pumper 4 in reserves in order for, if we have a truck going down, we have that truck to back us up. So when you have down a truck, for example, we had a pumper go down in early this year. It was out of service for roughly 6 weeks because it needed an engine replacement. So we were out of truck. So this way here, we will never be short a truck. So even our tankers are actually pumpers as well. So these are pumper tankers. This truck here is 2,500 gallons. It's a large tanker. Our current tanker is 1,500. So we're basically getting 2 trucks in one here for a water shuttle.
Thank you, Councilor Jiguer.
So just as we stay on the truck, so 4 basically will go in reserve in this new truck, which is the one that would respond out of Portquist.
No, Orcus is getting 8. It's getting our old tanker. The smaller tanker.
Okay, and so then the new one will come to town. Correct?
Yes.
Station 1.
Station 1.
Is that only a 3-seater or 2-seater?
2-seater.
So the only last question I have, and it really didn't come to me until we actually started talking about it tonight, is Pumper 4 that's going into reserve technically has the ability for 4 people to Scott us out.
Oh, yeah. 4
right?
people.
So are we gonna look at somehow trying to get those spots that are in 4 moved somewhere? Because sometimes when we do go to the country and whatnot, we are using all of those spots,
Yes.
right? So how are,
Yes, the breathing apparatus will be put into service on other pieces of equipment.
okay, perfect. Thanks.
Councilor Charles.
Also for me, Your Worship, I listed a while ago, F06, ongoing landfill assessment. 2 questions for Mercer Conte. What is approximately the remaining life expectancy of our landfill, and at what point would we seriously have to study either expansion or replacement?
So thank you for the question. Our last topographic survey identified that we have 17.5 years remaining for capacity. However, we do that survey every second year. So we do keep on top of on our capacity and volumes. We've had high level conversations with Pynchon, which is an environmental group that we use, and looking to see what the process is. We started looking into that already just to see what the process is to expand or to apply for additional capacity within our footprint and alternate sites. So those are just conversations thus far, but we do have 17, almost 18 years left with capacity.
Any other questions before Councilor Laflamme makes a comment? Go ahead.
Just a comment for Director Sear. A while ago, he asked about the airport lights and he asked if there was anything in the 10-year plan. I don't say anything. It's not to bring it up another time, that's all.
Perfect, Councilor Tremblay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Laflamme.
Just on, back to the landfill issue, if you don't mind. One of the things I don't think this community does very well is recycle. When you drive around on the day before garbage day and you see the massive bins that are overflowing with garbage bags, I just have to scratch my head and think, do these people even know what recycling means anymore? I'm just wondering, because going through a whole process of siting and deciding on what you're going to do with the existing landfill or possibly moving it, it takes years to go through that and a lot of money to go through that process. So anything that we can do to extend that by better recycling practices in the community, I think it's something that maybe Public Works should be looking at seriously now and developing or admin and saying, come on, community, this is 2024. We're coming into 2025. We've been talking recycling for decades already, and we don't do a real good job of that in this community.
You want me to run for council? I'll say that there's quite a bit going on in Ontario right now that's recycling related. There was some regulation that was passed. It's generally called producer responsibility. And we can bring information maybe in the new year about that and how it'll impact our community into the future. But if you look at some of our neighbors, like Timmins is transitioning to a producer-based responsibility in January of 2025. And generally speaking, what the regulation states is that now the producers are responsible to pick up, transport, and recycle that material in Ontario. So Iroquois Falls is not excluded from that process. It's just that we're not big enough to catch the threshold initially. So a lot of the bigger centers are being transitioned right now as a first step. And then we expect to be lumped into those contracts, in the next 2 years kind of thing. So to your point, it wouldn't necessarily make a whole lot of sense for us to develop like a curbside recycling program, let's say, to enable a better recycling, and then just for somebody to come in and buy our bins or change the system entirely. So there is a lot coming for that, and we can bring something forward in the new year.
And Councilor, you make a great point about best practices throughout municipalities around recycling, and we're looking strongly and evaluating all those trends to see if there is efficiencies or opportunities for Iroquois Falls. And whatever we can include in that report back in the new year, we're happy to do so as we evaluate what makes the most sense for our community. There's a lot there. There's a lot of changes. There's a lot of trends. There's regs that are being updated. And we're looking at all those opportunities, including opportunities for our landfill. So.
Councilor Laflamme.
Just to continue on this discussion, because it's all part of education. And again, if we're not putting it out there, if we're not somehow communicating to our residents that this is going to cost us in the long run, this is going to cost you residents, taxpayers of Iroquois Falls, more and more money on your taxes if you keep on dumping garbage, for example, into the recycle bins. We're not doing that, and I don't understand why we're not doing it. So it's just, I think it's something that we should be looking at in a proactive manner as opposed to waiting for the ministry to drop a bomb on us and say, thou shalt do this, and everybody has to put the recycles in clear plastic bags as a.
You're saying we have to educate.
I think so. Yeah, I think
we all.
Absolutely.
I agree. Councilor Tremblay.
It's a comment towards this same subject. I recycle, do only recycling, but you ask people, why don't you recycle? Or you hear stuff on the street, why should I recycle? The GFL truck's going to the dump. I pick up they picks up the recycling at Value Mart or a hospital, and they see the GFL truck going into the dump. That's what people see, right? That's what they think is the recycling is going to the dump. So I'm not bothering recycling. There's a lot of that. That's for years now, I've heard that.
Yeah, so that's perhaps an education piece because that's incorrect. I mean, GFL picks up all the waste at at Tim Hortons, all the ICI buildings, which is industrial, and they bring the waste to the landfill. They also collect the bins at those same locations that recycle, and they bring them to Timmins to the GFL recycling plant where they process. So
We know that, but
Yeah.
people seeing the GFL truck going into the dump, they just assume it's recycling.
Right. So I
Maybe like you said, an education plan or what.
for sure, yeah.
I can argue with them till, no, it's not. Yes, I did.
Yeah, and to maybe just add a little bit of content to Ben's question a while ago about the amount of recycling that hits the landfill. I think when we implemented the curbside collection, automated collection, we did reduce quantities that were allowed at the curb. So, it just by decreasing the quantities, I think it forced people into recycling a little bit as well, which did decrease the amount of waste that goes to the landfill. And also at a high level, all other municipalities that do curbside, whether it's curbside recycling or bins, their processing fees for contaminated waste, it's almost exactly the same. So Timmins, Cochrane, Hearst, ourselves with our bins, the cost to sort through that and it goes straight to the landfill because it's contaminated, it's the same. It's very high. And there's some places do better jobs at communicating that or educating, but the contamination rates, people don't care, right? They throw stuff in there. If it's dirty, it goes to the garbage.
Put a sign out of my head.
So yeah, we could do a better job at educating for sure.
Final comments? Councilor LaFarge.
I just want to congratulate the treasury and staff for putting together this budget. It's a lot of work, but it's really good that we're doing it this early as well. I really appreciate the fact that we might actually have a tax rate in January instead of, back in when we used to do it in May and June and whatever, and then everybody had to catch up on their taxes. So it's a proactive measure that you've taken, and I think it's very cost effective as well because you're thinking ahead, you're planning ahead. So kudos to everybody that worked on this. Congratulations. Are you done? I'm done. Okay.
I'm not long-winded. Thank you, your worship.
Normally.
I have two more points that I wanted to talk about before closing. One of them is the shipping containers for public works. The reason why is I've had some conversations with some people in the municipality, and I believe we have a bylaw currently for residential where they're not allowed in, on residential lots. So I'm just kind of like, where do we plan on putting these containers? Is it going to be like everyone can see them? Are they going to be in the back somewhere or?
The plan so far is to have them in the backyard. So it'll be storage for fluids, oils, grease, and parts. Right now we have our main bay is quite small, so it restricts our working area and it's quite cluttered. So it won't be on display. It'll be in the back.
I'm just wondering if there's an opportunity, if it wouldn't be much more, if it's less or something, either than, I know shipping containers is a very feasible and it's a good solution and it's quick, right? There's no thought like process and how to build it or whatnot. But if most of our residents can't have them in their yard, I'm just wondering if there's a solution either than a shipping container. Just a thought. Just kind of the people that are literally in the backyard there, they can't have it in their yard, but we have it, and I know it's for sure.
Something to think about, right? Okay, you're welcome.
Yeah, and generally speaking, you're correct. The zoning bylaw, has shipping containers identified in permissible zones. So the public works zoning would be appropriate for a shipping container placement. But But I, it's a good comment and then especially as we kind of build the building team, the building department team, like the aesthetics of those containers now are such that you're starting to blur the lines there between a shipping container, traditional shipping container and something that looks very aesthetically pleasing and looks like a shed. So,
But you can do some great things with them, even with, you can get like an engineered roof to go over top it to them and turn into like garages and whatnot. They can be very, like you said, not like 15 years ago. I just want us to be mindful.
A lot less expensive for us with storage containers than building 4 walls in the roof.
Absolutely. Exactly to my point. So it's cheaper for us to do what means it's cheaper for any of our residents. So, I just want to lead by example. My last one, and that I can talk on now, is I'm no longer in conflict with, would be the industrial park. Just that we've been talking about the industrial park for a little while now. I know it's been out there, like, are we seeing any traction from businesses or people looking to move into the industrial park once we get there, or?
Right.
Where do we at with that?
Before I turn it over to our Director of Infrastructure, really our 100% focus right now is the pre-production side of things. So all the feasibility and potentially the engineering side of things and being prepared for that through our engineers on the file. So that's, I believe, a report or a presentation is going to be going to council in the very near future around the park. Councilor Giguère, for great perspective, but I'll turn it over to our Director of Infrastructure if he wants to add any context there. But I do believe a presentation is coming very shortly for the public.
If there's a presentation coming before a budget, then you don't have to take too much time. I
Yeah, go ahead, Council. I keep on calling you Council like 3 or 4 times, and I apologize for that.
Mr. Sim.
I
We're gonna have a hard time.
I really respect you, I guess. I respect everybody, but go ahead. Sorry.
Short answer, the next council meeting will have a presentation and a project wrap up on the industrial park.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
I would just like to jump on the shipping container thing. In this case, where Steve is gonna be utilizing it, the fire department would prefer him using the CCAN because he's gonna have oil and use. And that sort of product where if he puts up a wood building, then he'd have to sprinkler it and whatnot and heat it. So he's better off with that in the fire side of it.
And I don't disagree, but those are all things that the average person also has in their garage.
But yeah, but as we're told, we're zoned, we're holding property.
But not that amount of content, so that wouldn't use. Yeah.
Go ahead, Councilor.
On the shipping containers, if I may, I wouldn't want to see a bunch of shipping containers in people's backyards anywhere in the community.
No, but there,
We are an exception because we have reasons to have like that, and I think they're valid. So I'm not gonna argue one way or the other. I just think that.
on that front, there is different things coming, like, okay, Councilor Brown.
For shipping containers, there are more ways to decorate them nowadays.
That's
Paint and or decoration.
You don't even
Put
know.
doors on any side. You could do million things like
People live
have
in them.
nice windows, people live in them. So if we have a right bylaws, why not have shipping container? It's affordable for people.
Yeah.
That's what I heard is going on this Spruce Street development is shipping container houses, no? Not more than 2 then.
Okay, so, thank you for all the great comments and questions. That was a very productive meeting. And like I say, I'll echo what the fellow councilor, Rolla 5 and the rest of the council says. Hats off to you and your committee and your team and all of council for all their engagement on this. And like I said, about 2 weeks ago, the team I met here, I was very impressed with this budget. Very proactive, and it's setting us up for the future. I really appreciate everybody's hard work, myself and Hans. Good.
So there's a higher professional treasurer.
No, you're doing a really good job. All right.
Councilor, I said, something about, 2025, I think not being, on in subsequent years. What we try to do is, the 10-year plan is very futuristic. We just want only on 2025, and then, as we gather, data like you, your suggestion and council suggestion, we can go in and then project into 2026, 27, 28 to 35. We have every year, for the 10-year period, we have analyzed to come to a realization that we need a minimum of 4.5 million every year. So, in 2029, for instance, we have, the segment that we need to put money in, funding in. So as we get the details, we will put the project in that segment. So that is why you don't find them in there. Now that we are pulling the data, we will go in and then put the details in. We thank everyone for the contribution, for the hints you have. You have. I'm going to give you that, and we are going to work on it.
Perfect, thank you
very much.
All in favor? Carried. Council advisors in favor? Okay, I didn't see your hands.
I was just lazy.
Go to the next item.
So the next is the 10-year draft capital budget.
Okay, you're gonna move in a second. Councilor Jiguer and Councilor Brown Mathis. Okay. You have anything you'd like to say on that, sir, or more for information?
And then I just said,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I was making sure.
Yeah, for information.
Yeah.
Received.
Is there any comments or questions on it before we vote? Okay, all in favor? Carried.
Mayor Gloria, during meeting, we did capture 2 motions that were brought up. The first one was brought up by Councilor Jiguer. And it was for staff to produce an organizational chart, which would include current and projected staffing.
Can I get a move in a second? Councilor Jiguer and Councilor Bernier. And any discussion before? All in favor? Carried. Up the next one, please.
The next one was brought up by Councilor Brownback, and it would be that council authorizes staff to investigate town of Arapahoe Falls signage for inclusion in the 2025 capital budget.
Councilor Brownback, Councilor Shalom, second. Okay, any comments or questions? All in favor? Carried. Here is the next item.
The next item would be our adjournment, unless there were any other motions that council wanted to bring forth.
Mover, Councilor Jiguer, Councilor Bernier.
We'll move by Councilor Jiguer, seconded by Councilor Bernier. At the special meeting of October 30th, 2024 adjourns at 8:41 PM.
All in favor? Carried. Good night, everyone.